Hi folks, this is Steve, and today I wanted to give you a quick look at Arcs. Arcs is currently on Kickstarter. I think at the moment it's done like over $1 million. Really big Kickstarter. It's from the guys that brought out Root, which if you played that, really good game. Really interesting. You know, they've done a lot of unique games. Vast as well is one of theirs. So I want to give you a quick look at this one. And we're going to find out if you should be backing it or if you should keep your money in your wallet. So let's take a quick look. So this is a 4X game. You're going to be exploring the galaxy, you're going to be doing some space combat, and you're going to be trying to take control and score victory points from these objective cards over here. So there's some interesting things going on in this game, which if you've played Root, you know, you would expect to see from these guys. You know, yeah, they have some interesting gameplays. Root is a game that I've played a few times now, and it's very unique. You know, it's asymmetrical to the extreme, right? It's a kind of area control game, and every faction is entirely unique. If you've played Vast as well, that's another game that is asymmetrical to the extreme. So yeah, I was kind of really interested to take a look at this. Thankfully it's on TTS, Tabletop Simulator, so I thought I'd give it a look. I'm not going to give you a full playthrough. It's a game that requires 3 players. I just want to show you some of the core mechanics, some of the basic things that are going on, some of the interesting things, and hopefully you'll get an idea of whether you should be backing it. So yeah, like I said, it's a 3+ player game, and you are going to be starting in your own sector of the galaxy and exploring out and trying to score victory points from these objective cards that are going to be laid out like this. What I think is quite cool about these objective cards is they kind of slide down, and so you know what's coming, and you also know, like in this case, this card's going to score twice because it's going to slide down, whereas this one's just going to be scoring once before it slides off. So it gives you an idea, it gives you a way to plan ahead. But let's look at the core principles of this game. So you're going to start a round. I'm not sure why that has done that. Let's try and see if we can solve that. There we go. So yeah, you're going to start around with a hand of cards. So let me see if I can just split these up into some kind of order. So this is a trick-taking game at the heart of the game, right? And what's going to happen is, let's say I'm playing first. Each of these cards over here represents different actions. So the actions you can do are production, aggression, construction, and mobilization. And they're essentially going to allow you to build new factories and things like that onto the board. They're going to allow you to move your ships from location to location. They're going to allow you to combat. I'll talk about the dice in a little bit. And build out new technology and things like that. You start off with basic technology, and there's a market that is going to kind of fill up and allow you to acquire new technology. So something like that. So on my turn, I'm going to pick the action that I want to do if I'm the lead player. Let's say I want to do some production. Now, the 2 important things you're looking at here is, like in this case, we've got 1 spanner here, we've got 2 spanners on this one, we've got 3 spanners on this, which means I essentially production points, right? So if I'm doing the production action, let's see. So extract or repair or influence. Influence is essentially purchasing new cards and things like that. But what we're concerned with is, let's say, extract and repair or repair. And how many hammers, or rather spanners, on this card is relevant for me in terms of, this is essentially action points. So 1 action point, 2 action points, 3 action points. But what is equally as interesting is this number in the top left hand corner, because like I said before, this is a trick taking game. So let's say I play out this 2. So I'm going to put that up there, and I'm going to get to have 2 production points worth of action. So maybe I repair something and I extract something from one of my factories, refineries, or something like that, and that's me done. Now the next player has got a few different options. They can follow. So this is play an action card face up that matches the lead card suit. So if you think of each of these different actions that we can do, so production, aggression, construction and mobilization, as suits, effectively we've got the production suit, we've got the aggression suit, we've got the construction suit, and we've got the mobilization suit. So we can follow that production suit here, and if we play a higher numbered production card, which we can't actually do, this player 2 hasn't got that option because this is a production 0. So we would essentially gain first player for the next round of cards. You know, we'd win that trick. So follow, play an action card face up that matches the lead card suit, in this case production, and has a higher number than the lead card. So then we can take actions up to the number. So in this case, this would be like 2 production, but unfortunately it's not higher than that 2. We can copy, so play an action card face down, and then you can take only 1 action of the lead card. So we could copy this, but we might be able to maybe dump a card that we don't think is going to be useful. Pivot, play an action card face up that does not match the lead card suit, and then you can take only 1 action on that card. So that's what's relevant there. We can play off suit, but we're not going to get the full benefit of these cards, but we can still kind of play out of suit. And then seizing the initiative, it is this idea of trick taking, where essentially if you're playing a higher number, you're going to be taking the initiative, and you're going to be kind of so maybe this guy plays a card face down, and then player 3. So player 3 is in a nice position where they can follow, so they can play on suit, and it has that higher number. This is what's important in this game here, right? So it's got the 1 action, but it's got this number 5. So again, it's this higher suit, this higher number in the top left hand corner. That's what we're interested in, right? So they're happy because they're also going to seize initiative. So then maybe the next guy, he plays this face down, he's going to do his action, and that's kind of that turn sorted. But then going into the next turn, let's just get rid of these cards for now. Let's throw those away somewhere. This guy who played the 5 is now has the initiative, right? And he's going to now be in charge, and he wants to do some construction. So maybe he's going to play this card down, and again he's going to get his 2 production points, but he's playing a 3 card. So we're all then kind of committed into that route, right? So like when we think about trick taking games, I mean, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but you know, I think about lighter games, you know, where it's kind of fast play, and you know, we're following suit, you know, games like The Crew and things like that, where this is taking that mechanic and putting it in a much heavier, much more a deeper game, I guess, which I think is really cool. And there's something quite interesting and quite unique about that idea inside a 4X game. So what I would say is you've got an incredibly unique method of action selection in this game. This is something that I haven't really seen. You know, we've seen trick taking games before. There's, you know, literally hundreds of games that revolve around trick taking, but I can't think of a 4X game at least that is kind of dictated by trick taking. But essentially, you know, you're going to be playing these cards to do actions, and you know, again, you're going to be doing production, aggression, so you're going to be combating. So again, you're going to be moving your forces, you know, into enemy territory. Maybe you move in adjacent, right? But I'm just trying to set up an example for you guys. So you know, maybe we've got some other ships that we've purchased, and we're moving in, and then we get into combat, which is also I think handled really well. If I just move to the combat dice, right, here we go. Essentially, you know, for however many pieces you've got, you're going to get to roll up to that many dice. But the dice are kind of graded in different ways. We've got these 3 different colors, and let's see. So we've got Assault, Bombard, and Raid. So we've got these red Assault dice, these kind of teal Bombard, and then these orange Raid. And what's really cool about this is that they're kind of graded in a way that dictates how much damage you're going to take and how much damage you're going to deal. So like the Assault dice, they damage the defender quickly, but at some cost to you, right? So they're going to do more damage to you potentially, because there's only one roll of the dice. It's not a contested roll where I roll and then you roll and we kind of compare results. You know, depending on what I decide to roll when I'm attacking this white player, you know, I might decide to just roll Assault dice. Probably means I'm going to take a lot more damage than, let's say, the Bombard dice are, you know, damage the defender slowly but keep you safe. So essentially they're going to have less damage me dice faces on there. And then you got the Raid dice, allow you to kind of steal things, because as you extract goods and things like that, you're going to be putting them in your hold. You're going to be getting these various goods along here, depending on what resources. If you look here, we're going to be getting these barrel goods. Here, I think these are relics and other things like that. So these Raid dice allow you to potentially steal. And I think that's really cool. It reminds me of the Fallout dice mechanic from the Fantasy Flight game, where like I thought the combat was handled in a really kind of quick and efficient way in that game. The game was a little bit of a mess, but I kind of really liked that it was just kind of, I roll some dice and it tells me, you know, how much damage I do and how much damage I take, rather than this kind of contested, you know, drawn out, protracted combat. And this kind of does the same thing by the looks of things, where you know, I'm rolling dice for both of us, you know, and I'm in charge of this pool of dice. And I'm going to say, right, well, I definitely want to get, maybe I really want to get this white player off the board here, so I'm going to be rolling these red Assault dice. Or, you know, maybe I'm in no rush. So they're also like, I think they're called Blight in this game, that when you move into kind of uncontested areas, you have these Blight tokens that are essentially, you know, I think they're like sentient fungus or something is the kind of elevator pitch for them. But essentially, you know, they're like automa that we've got to go and kill. Maybe you use your Raid dice to get rid of those, so you're not taking, well, or your Bombard dice, so you're not taking much damage, but you're clearing them out, right? So I think that's really cool. That's a unique way to handle combat, I think, and not just unique but also efficient, right? Because, you know, I think probably if you're anything like me, the last thing you want is, you know, 30 dice rolling to hit, and then, you know, 15 of those I've now got to roll to see if I do any damage, and then you're getting your 20 dice in defense back to negate some of that. You know, I think that's modern games, we want to see like a more efficient way to get to that end result, that end randomizer, and this seems like a really cool idea. So what else is going on top of that? Like I said before, we've got our objective cards, and this kind of little river here is going to slide new objectives, which seems like a neat idea. We're upgrading, so we start with these basic you know, attack ships, factories and extractors, and then we're going to be upgrading as the game goes on. I believe that like certainly in this TTS version, this is like a standalone one-off game. You just play it and there's a winner and a loser, but I believe that within the Kickstarter campaign there's a campaign version of this game where I guess you play through, you know, so many scenarios, and you evolve your, you know, deck and things like that as you go, or your, you know, upgrades. So that could be neat. So hopefully that's given you an idea. What do I think about it? I don't think I'm going to be backing it, but it's certainly something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. I absolutely want to get a game in on TTS at some point and see how it plays, and I'm probably going to pick it up at retail, but it's, There's a lot going on. 4X games can be quite long generally. I think this is supposed to play in around 2 to 3 hours. So it will be interesting to get a game, you know, a four player game, and see if that holds true. I think there's a lot to think about. There's a lot going on. I absolutely love integrating the kind of, what you call it, trick taking into the way that we're going to be playing this game. I think that is, if that idea appeals to you, then this is definitely one to look at, and it seems really neat to me. And it will kind of just depend on playing from there. I know Root, like I've said, really unique, really interesting game. But while I like it, I certainly don't think I like it as much as a lot of people. It's a solid game. It's unique, and I absolutely applaud the designers for coming up with something so clever and so like dynamic in the asymmetry. But what I found with Root is that it's a game you want to play often, and the information about how the different factions work is not hidden, right? I know how each faction should play, but understanding how you play a different faction while I'm playing my own requires multiple plays, right? So it's a game that benefits from maybe the same gaming group playing multiple games over a fairly short period of time to really understand like how each faction plays, rather than kind of being blind to how, you know, the person opposite me is kind of scoring their points and things, because it's so asymmetric. And I think that is, well, it's both a positive and a negative, right? It makes the game hugely interesting and very unique, but equally it makes it hard to fully grasp. You know, certainly the first few plays, you're really just concerned about your own faction, and you've got no idea what everyone else is doing because each faction plays so differently. I don't think that is the case with Arcs. I think that it's got some cool and interesting ideas, but I think ultimately, you know, the asymmetry is going to be in the upgrades we make and things like that. We essentially start with the same cards, or rather the same upgrades, and then the cards are just dealt. You know, we might have more production, we might have more construction. We're going to roll with the cards we get, essentially, which, you know, that probably falls more into the kind of game that I'd like to play. You know, I think that the idea of manipulating this trick taking and getting the most out of these actions, what are they again? We've got so like the follow, copy, pivot. You know, when you want to copy, when you want to keep a card, or when you just want to follow to get the initiative, you know, win a trick in order to get the initiative going into the next, so that I can make sure I do my big, you know, whatever it is, aggression action. You know, maybe I've got this 2 aggression that I'm absolutely desperate to play because I want to make sure that I can, you know, get into a new area. That for me is where the game is going to be interesting, you know, and that's what I want to get to grips with. And then, you know, I'm always happy to see, you know, any kind of, you know, victory point race, and how am I gonna, you know, pull off this, you know, industrialist before it falls off, and make sure I can still, you know, score the warp caller a couple of times or something like that. You know, that I think if that appeals to you, then this is one you absolutely want to pick up. Artwork's really cool, really interesting. You know, it's got a quite cute little vibe to it. Yeah, I like the artwork. I think, you know, the artwork in Root is brilliant, and, you know, I think they've done the same kind of thing with this, where it's kind of familiar and unique in the same way, you know. So but hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea, a little bit rambly, but I just wanted to put something out there just to show you the game. If you were kind of either on the fence or, you know, hadn't seen too much about it, I thought I'd put something out there because, you know, again, just like Root and Vast, if you've ever played that as well, really unique games. And you know, this trick taking idea in a 4X game, I think is really cool. So definitely check it out. Go and look at the Kickstarter. There's other people online that have got full playthroughs on. Go and check those out. See if it's a game for you, because yeah, it's going to do well. I think it's well worth a little bit of a look. But yeah, take care, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye bye.